AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Adam Almozlino. Adam is the Vice President of Data and Product Strategy for OptimizeRx. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, JP, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Adam, let's start with yourself. Can you give a brief overview of your background, where you got started in data, what has been your journey, and what's led you to your current position here as the VP of Data for OptimizeRx?
So I actually didn't start in the world of data. Like a lot of us who are in the world of data, I was a very science-interested kid, chemistry sets and all that stuff our parents these days try to encourage kids to do. But I went down a very different route. I went down the path of medicine, and I actually attended medical school for a year. But I'd always had this bigger love of social science since middle school, and discovered the burgeoning field of data science as applied to social science 2009 or so. And to my parents' chagrin, dropped out and went and worked in the data science university circuit at Harvard and then MIT, applying data science to social science. It was a pleasure, but like anybody who's been a research assistant knows, tough to pay rent and burritos on a research assistant salary. So I took a job at a startup that was commercializing a particularly interesting piece of data science. And from there, one thing rolled into another. So our startup was acquired by an exciting company that was putting together an integrated data and analytics play in healthcare. I ended up running a business there, providing advanced analytics and AI-based solutions for different healthcare organizations, a mix of life sciences companies and provider organizations, hospital networks. For about 2-3 years, built a net new product there that was also data science based. And at that point, I spent about 1.5 years. I worked a little bit on some social impact causes that I'm passionate about and did some consulting, and then joined OptimizeRx, which has proven to be very cool and very exciting.
Well, thank you for the overview. It's great to learn about your journey, particularly where you started in the interest in medical field and how that's followed to where you are now. So talk to us about OptimizeRx at a high level for anyone who's not familiar with the organization. What are you doing? What's the objective? And then give us some insight into your role as the VP of all things data.
OptimizeRx is fundamentally a communications platform. So we help various actors in the healthcare ecosystem reach physicians and patients in an era where behavioral choices on the parts of physicians and patients are so determinative of, yes, the commercial progression in the market, but also the care and outcomes for physicians and patients. Being able to communicate with them well is absolutely essential for pretty much everybody in the ecosystem. So as a company, we have a proprietary network integrated primarily into the point of care. And so what that means is that whether it's an app on a patient's phone, or a big part of our network is plugging into the digital health systems that doctors are legally mandated to use, we're able to deliver messages, really adjust user experiences in those settings in order to communicate with those physicians and patients. So it's a great business. It's been around for a while and really delivers great results for our customers. It puts out really important information, be it clinical educational information, coupons, patient support information. We provide that to our patients and physicians that we work with secondhand and make a big impact for our customers. With such a communications network, there's a lot of patterns that show up in a lot of other industries where communications is really important. And one of the things that stand out is how being a digital first communication setting, like our internet browsers, like our phones, increasingly like retail in the physical world, because of phones, there's major opportunities to optimize, hence our name, the delivery of those messages and their impact using data and analytics. So these are things that the big tech players, Google comes to mind, Amazon, everybody, really did in the early 2000s. And for various reasons, it's been very challenging to do in the healthcare space, particularly in the context of the point of care, the actual settings that physicians and patients either deliver or receive healthcare. Our new wave for the future, like a lot of companies, is in order to make a bigger impact for our customers, for our patients, for our physicians, bringing data and analytics to bear to optimize through AI and other advanced analytical approaches is a major direction for our company and indeed the industry. My role is to bring aboard that data and analytics expertise and really carry through that impact, that increased impact for our customers and the rest of our industry. So in that capacity, we're developing a number of new products and solutions and a number of internal sort of optimizations where we're using data and analytics to do so. So probably the flagship of our enhanced offerings and really the optimization that can be generated for our customers is an exciting project, and we're talking about it all the time. We're patent pending on it. It's called RWD AI, and it's a really great case study of the kinds of optimizations that are possible in a communication setting with data and analytics in healthcare. And that solution, which we're now in market with, which myself and our chief commercial officer are the inventors of, we use RWD on top of or feeding into an AI engine in order to predictively identify the right messages to send at the right times to physicians and patients. So just for example, when we're surfing the web, it's not always the right time to give us an ad about, Honda's new hatchback, right? One, am I even somebody who's in the market for hatchback? Do I like hatchbacks? But two, while I'm Googling the life of Edward the Confessor, it's probably not the right moment to message me. Similarly, there are moments in a physician's care of a patient or in the patient's experience themselves as they have a disease, as it's diagnosed, as they go for initial treatment, follow-up treatment, that are the right moments to communicate and educate those physicians and patients. So the same way that in an online setting, we might have an algorithm that can predictably identify, am I a potential hatchback buyer? And am I right now in a state of mind, in a context where it makes sense to talk to me about the fuel mileage, the safety rating of the new Honda hatchback? Similarly, with this new solution we've invented, we're able to predictively identify those key contexts and then leverage the rest of our communications platform in order to pull through and in order to deliver that message to the physician and patient. So I highlight it because there's a lot of other things that we're doing, but that's a really exciting one. And for me, in my career, it's really brought together a lot of threads. It's brought together the healthcare angle, because it's great that we can predict things, but what should we predict? What's actually going to benefit the patient's care and work for our customers? That's the healthcare angle. There's the data angle. How do we build these predictive models? There's the product and solution angle. How do we identify something that's scalable, that we can run, and that there's a business for it? So it's been a really exciting project for me personally and for our company as well.
Adam, sounds fascinating, given what we already know about the complexity of healthcare data and how disjointed it is. Being able to merge it together and improve the communications, both for patient and for physicians, will certainly have a massive impact. I'd like to get your take now on the dynamic of your data team. What happens behind the scenes to get these products to market? What are some of the challenges that you face, and how you've, as the leader of the group, gone about assembling the right balance of skill set and personnel to achieve these goals?
Yeah, phenomenal question. And really the question anybody who wants to build an organization, in our society, that means often a business in any domain needs to answer. What's the team? How do they work together? How do those skills and capabilities that as a team we have implement the business? So in many ways, our team looks like any sort of B2B machine learning play. So really we have a strategy solution leader, somebody who really is business first with a deep technical knowledge, and that's myself. And then from there, we have really 2 or 3 branches, and it's all semantics, right? There's a set of skills. We need to bring them to bear on the challenges that are necessary on the team. So the first is data engineering. We got to have good software development chops. We better have a continuous integration pipeline that works, and the data pipes better be hooked up correctly. They better do the right logical transformations without introducing various technical roadblocks like lag times in cases where things need to be real time, and basically move the data around to the right place. So that's one part of our team that's very important. And then, like any other business out there, there's the process of the data science and the model development itself. So this really is often divided into 2, sometimes 3 roles, usually some sort of social science analysis piece in a domain that is as qualitative as ours. In the context of like credit card risk, that's to pick something out of thin air, or high frequency trading, that's less relevant. But in something that has fuzzier definitions, somebody who really understands the domain, but can also go in, build simple models, calculate crosstabs, really do that exploratory data analysis is key. So that's another role on the team I share, and also we split with the next role, which is the data scientist. And the data scientist role is often stretches into that first part, the exploratory data analysis component, but it really works in order to finish the definition of and implement a model that is predictively accurate with low bias. And that's a key ML development role that really integrates with the first role heavily, because any data scientist knows you better have a good grasp on your domain if you want to be able to implement something that's meaningful and performant. The last component of that role set is an ML engineer role. So in contexts where the model needs to be very performant, when there's technical challenges, maybe you're in a situation that needs federated learning, maybe you're in a situation that needs real-time predictions and you need to pre-cache some set of hyperparameters, and there's all sorts of things in those domains. That's a key role. It's actually not such a key role for our team, and that's because we're a B2B company and our solutions need to be performant, but they're not running at the scale of Uber on hundreds of millions of phones and like that. So in a way, we fold that task into the data engineer and data scientist role as well. And so we have staff for all of this. And as well, we've really had great success finding partners to participate in some of this development. So folks who really have expertise in, for example, building tools to move the data science workflow towards AutoML. It's a little bit of a fantasy, right? What is AutoML? But bring in components of that in order to speed up the workflow, really make a data scientist and data engineer's life easier, and also deliver better results for our customers. Behind the scenes, we just run a scrum. It's as simple as it comes. We have a development scrum, and then we have execution scrums with our customers.
No, I appreciate the breakdown and outlining the various different roles and skill sets that currently exist. And obviously, as the team grows, there's going to be more of that required. But it also gives some insight into the how behind what you guys do. So I want to now get your take on what's next, not just for Optimize, because I'm sure there's an exciting roadmap ahead. But for this industry that you're operating in, for anyone who's familiar with healthcare data, it's incredibly complex, and to make any real adjustments, it takes a monumental effort. So I would love to get your take on what you're most excited about for the next 12, 24 months, both for Optimize as a business, but then for the industry.
Yeah, definitely. So Optimize has two ways that I think we're developing and are really leading. And of course, I would say this, I work for OptimizeRx. I love our company, but I really do think we're leading some transformations in the industry, and they're very exciting. The first is the shift of general communications of physicians and patients to a digital and especially a point of care setting. So all the social science research out there, and for me, a lot of that's come from social advocacy stuff and then marketing support in other industries. But across the board is moving towards digital, because really the amount of our life that is mediated through digital medium, take the very interview we're conducting right now over Microsoft Teams, is growing and growing. The movement of the overall life sciences communications industry in that direction, OptimizeRx is the forefront of that because of factor 2, which is communications in workflows. So it's great that we now can understand consumer and in this case, patient and physician behavior digitally, but being able to communicate with audiences at the right moment, at the moments where they're involved in whatever it is you want to communicate with them about, is been proven in all these other industries to be much more powerful, and in ours as well. So the increasing shift of our customers, partially accelerated by COVID, but really accelerated from before you and I were born, as the government and insurers began putting more restrictions on the ability to communicate with physicians and patients. That continuing and accelerating trend is very exciting and is increasingly forming the bedrock rather than an ancillary sort of component for our customers' communication strategies. For us as a company, that involves an increasing footprint in different media. Again, our bread and butter will always be that point of care. But when we think about any sort of customer workflow, it doesn't have to be in healthcare, but it's also in healthcare. More touch points you reach, the more impactful you are. The increasing number of touch points we bring aboard our platform is exciting. Secondly, the amount of optimizations that we can do driven by data and analytics is extremely exciting. So I described the predictive component, but JP, you called it out. That's great, but what happens upstream of that? Healthcare data is extremely difficult to parse into business purposes because it is such an intricate, complex, with caveats on caveats on caveats domain. The increasing standardization of healthcare data out there, of the conceptuality of that healthcare data, and just institutional knowledge around it helps our customers understand what we can do for them better, and really gives us more opportunities to bring those leverage points to bear and to optimize across them in order to make a bigger impact. And at the heart of that is ingesting the data, understanding the data, modeling that data, and executing off that data. Same as anywhere. But that's a big movement in the industry, and it's very exciting for us as a company to be able to be driving that in a real way.
And then to tack on to that, with the increased growth of Optimize, with the new functionality, and with this continuous push towards social touch points and digital touch points, your team is going to grow. So could you give us some insight into the makeup currently and where you expect it to be in a year to 2 years' time?
So right now we have one person in each of those roles we talked about before. We've got a business leader, we've got data scientist, data engineer, and we have brought aboard an amazing contractor to help us with just the tremendous data science bandwidth that we're going to need, particularly around that ML engineering piece. That's really where our contractor is focused. But what that means is that as we are deploying more engagements and developing more solutions for our customers, which we actively are, especially that data scientist headcount is going to grow.
Exciting times ahead. Adam, we really appreciate you coming on today and talking to us about Optimize. It's a fascinating business model which will have huge impact and value for patients and physicians alike. Really exciting problem to solve for anyone who's working in data, and obviously growth in store, good career opportunities for people as well. So thank you again for sharing. We wish you guys all the best with the year ahead.
Thank you, JP, and thanks for having me on.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. For more information, contact mark@alldus.com. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.